broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads from over 200 countries and your number one source in after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing aftershows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows. Interviewing celebrities and showrunners. And bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Hey there, Z Nation fans! Welcome to another edition of the After Show for Z Nation. How are you guys doing tonight?
Doing all right.
I'm alive.
I know.
Can't complain.
Living is good.
No Z's to worry about today?
Nope. No puppies and kittens.
No puppies and kittens, but we do have a lot of fracking zombies to talk about today.
Are there 10,000 of them?
If there are, we know exactly who to call in order to take care of that.
Yes.
And, well, his new name would be Jeff.
Yeah, exactly.
We can't really call him anymore. It would be Jeff.
Yeah.
You know.
Although I'm probably going to stick to calling him 10K because 10,000 just kind of sounds weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll probably just keep calling him 10K if that's all right. I don't know what Kente is. That makes no sense.
I don't, yeah.
But anyway, joining me on the panel today, Katie Cullen.
Hi, all my buddies.
Roya Taheri.
Hello.
And I'm your host, Megan Salinas. Guys, what did you think of this first episode? Because it felt...
Second episode.
Oh my gosh, second episode. Sorry. I was going to say it's very different from our first episode. It's a little bit different now that we're officially on the move.
It is. They've laid out everything they need to tell us about what's going on. We have our players. We have our map, kind of. And they've started moving now that we've got all the pieces in place.
It was very stressful, and I actually was stressed out for a lot of the characters, and there was a lot of anxiety that was going through me, and I'm like, why am I feeling this?
Citizen Z. I was just like, oh no, oh no, oh no. Wait, did that end well? Oh my gosh.
Was it all a dream?
It was a nail biter of an episode, and it's great that we have all these pieces in play, as you said before, and that we have our characters, and now we have to figure out, okay, how are we actually getting to California? How are we going to get there in one piece?
I can't even drive there on my own right now. There's no zombies, so I'm a little stressed out for them and how they're going to end up doing that.
Yeah, the GPS and
not
everything.
helping.
We actually have a calling guest today, co-creator of the show, Craig Engler. How are you doing today, Craig?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Thank you so much for calling into the show to join us. We are so excited to talk to you about this episode.
It is totally my pleasure, and I already listened to the one that you guys did with Michael Cassett.
Oh, awesome.
That's awesome. So, what drew you to this particular project? Because we got Mike's kind of 2 cents on that. We want to know why this show? Why Z Nation?
Well, I've always had an interest in zombies, and I've always wanted to tell beyond the survivor's tale. I wanted to get beyond it's the apocalypse, and we're just doing everything we can survive week to week or hour to hour, depending on the movie. I really wanted to look at what competent survivors would be in the zombie apocalypse several years from now. You know, how would they have learned to deal with things? You know, what would they be doing? What would their lives be like? And then I also knew that I wanted to do sort of a road journey because I wanted to see what the entire U.S. would look like 3 years into the zombie apocalypse. So, you know, the reason that these guys are going on the road is hopefully to get a cure and save humanity. They're not just surviving week to week, kind of bouncing around from place to place wherever they think they can stay alive for, you know, the next day or two.
They've got a goal that isn't just live until tomorrow, see what happens then.
Yeah. And, you know, over time you would develop tactics on how to, you know, survive with the zombies. You know, it's just like anything else. When there's something in your environment that's new and dangerous, you try to learn to adapt to it. And, you know, the open question is, will they learn to adapt and survive long enough to keep humanity alive, or will they ultimately be overrun by the zombies? So hopefully we'll have many seasons to tell that story.
Fingers crossed. One thing that Mike brought up was that, you know, something that you guys wanted to do to make this series a little bit more different and kind of a little bit more distinct was this kind of notion of hope. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I am surrounded by and blessed to be surrounded by very strong family members. So if there was a zombie apocalypse, I do not foresee anyone in my immediate circle of family and friends just giving up not wanting to survive, we would be like, okay, like this happened. How are we going to deal with it? How are we going to make our lives better? How are we going to be safe? How are we going to be secure? So this is kind of the story of what would happen if Craig was in the zombie apocalypse with his friends and family, learning how to keep surviving and build a new life, as opposed to just either rolling over and, dying or being killed, or, just kind of holding up and waiting for, I don't know what exactly anyone is ever waiting for in the zombie apocalypse, because it doesn't seem like it's ever going to end. So I think you kind of have to take the bull by the horns.
So have you based some of these characters on your friends and family then?
A little bit. I gravitate towards very strong female characters. I have very strong female role models in my life. My mother is a very strong personality. My wife is a very strong personality. So you'll notice that all the women in Z Nation are strong, kick-ass, capable women who are also still women. They're not just men, stuck in, in with an actress playing a male role. They're actually, roles for women, and in some cases by women. We have a female writer on the staff, and our writing assistant is a woman.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're talking to 3 girls on the panel right now, so we very much appreciate
fantastic, fantastic.
Yeah, we're really excited.
Well, every once in a while you see these things and it's like, well, there's one, here's the strong female character among all the male characters. I'm like, no, there would be many strong female characters. So, this show is the balance. There's different ethnicities, there's different gender types. It's the whole gamut.
Now, I got a question for you. In this episode, it was mentioned at Mount Wilson that there's a level 4 infected. What will we see a level 10 in this season, or will that be more later down the series?
What's the scale?
I can't really say anything.
Okay.
I can't really talk about Mount Wilson and what does or does not happen there. So that is later in the season. You guys are gonna have to keep watching to find out. But I will say you will learn more about what Mount Wilson is and is not, and what its role is, and all that kind of stuff.
I've heard of zombie bears. Where would those be on the scale?
We have zombie animals. I mean, I actually wrote a movie called Zombie Apocalypse several years ago that aired on SyFy. It starred Ving Rhames killing zombies the way Ving Rhames was meant to do with the sledgehammer. And in that, we actually introduced zombie animals. We had a zombie dog, and then, spoiler, at the very end, they come across a zombie tiger. So when I was talking about the show with the network, we knew that we wanted to expand the sort of zombie universe. There are certainly diseases that jump species, and I can't say whether every animal you meet will be infected or not, but there are definitely zombie animals. If you saw the last episode, you would have seen the first zombie animal in our menagerie.
Yeah, the dog.
Yes.
I wanted to ask, because poor Citizen Z is up in the Arctic and he has to deal with this zombie dog, I was wondering, was the film The Thing, John Carpenter's Thing, was that kind of the inspiration for that particular choice?
No, I think a lot of times when you see stuff, it's, I see this online, people will be like, oh, well, this is just like X, Y, or Z scene in X, Y, and Z movie. And I'm thinking, I never even heard of that movie. I think sometimes you just start running into similarities. I don't think it was overtly The Thing, but, Citizen Z was actually a character that was created by Carl Schaefer, our showrunner. Mm-hmm. And he's one of my favorite characters because he has everything that you would ever want in the zombie apocalypse, right? He's more or less safe. He's safe from the zombie horde. He's got electricity. He has communication. He has food, but he has absolutely no human companionship. And I think he's like this amazing character where he's got all the things that you would want in the zombie apocalypse, except the thing that you would want most of all, which is companionship. So I think the dog was a way to sort of introduce, a companion for him and someone he could talk to and relate to, but not necessarily tied to John Carpenter's The Thing, which is a fantastic movie, by the way, one of my favorites of all time.
Yeah, so great. But yeah, that's great that he has this companion to sort of be a sounding board for now. It's not him talking to himself. He's got a friend.
And it was nice to see some of the more hopeful tone coming through, because I did spend this entire episode going, that dog's going to die. The dog's going to get bitten. He's going to have to put it down. The dog's going to die. The dog lived? This show is awesome.
Well, I'll tell you, in this show, like many shows, like Game of Thrones, like The Walking Dead, nobody is safe. So, and that really brings a great element of tension that TV has kind of been lacking until this new breed of show has come around, where, you always knew, oh, if the dog is here, the dog will survive. And the idea is you don't know if he's going to make it to the end of this episode, and then you don't know if he's going to make it to the end of the next episode. So
he made it to the end of this one, and I'm happy. It was a nice relief from the usual doom and gloom apocalypse stories.
Yeah.
Well,
And DJ Qualls is just doing an amazing job as Citizen Z. So
Oh, yeah.
just fantastic.
oh yeah, he's wonderful. That was a great casting choice. But
Yeah, that was actually what we were talking about ideas for Citizen Z, and one of our producers, Jody, came up with the name DJ Qualls as a potential name, and we were lucky enough to be able to get him. So, Carl created this great character, Jody came up with this great casting, and DJ is just killing it as Citizen Z.
Oh, yeah.
He's great. I think for the most, we haven't gotten to see a whole lot of story development with a lot of the characters, but the casting seems pretty fitting so far.
Casting is great, and you will definitely see backstories for the characters as time goes on. It's very funny. I'm on Twitter a lot, and so I listen to what people are saying about the show, and then sometimes I actually jump in and answer their question. And I'm like, oh, how do you know? Oh, wait a second, and they think that's the greatest thing in the world. But one of the things, that we suffer a little bit from comparison to Walking Dead right now is people are like, well, your characters aren't really as developed as the ones in The Walking Dead, and I'm like, well, yeah, they've had 4 seasons.
Yeah,
so,
you've had 2 episodes.
Give
That's
us
not fair.
a little time to develop them, yeah. But as the show goes on, it is absolutely, each of these characters is on their own journey, and that journey may or not be the same journey later on in the season as it is early in the season. Some of them may not be around the whole season. Some of them, other things might happen to them. So I think you'll start to see the character development, over time. But we do need a couple episodes to kind of lay the track so that the train can start going down and we can kind of start seeing where these characters are going.
Yeah, we got to get on our road trip first before we do any of that.
We need to gas up, guys. How are we going to do that?
But one of the things you mentioned is obviously you want to get a kind of a full kind of look at what is going on in America during the zombie apocalypse. But I think you guys just film in one location, correct?
Well, we film in Spokane, in and around Spokane, but Spokane is an amazing place to film because they have lots of areas that look like other areas of the country. So if you want to film in, downtown Philadelphia, there's a street in Spokane that looks like downtown Philadelphia. And an upcoming episode is shot in the wheat field of Missouri, and there are wheat fields, and you would not have any idea that you were, not in Missouri when you're out in these wheat fields. So Spokane has like a Grand Canyon, it has a canyon that looks like the Grand Canyon. It's like amazing. So everything we could possibly have wanted is in Spokane, and they are the most wonderful people to work with. We absolutely love Spokane, and I cannot speak highly enough about the locals who have come out to play the zombie extras. It is the talk of the town, and everybody does an amazing job out there.
We heard you had, 900 volunteers?
Yeah, I wasn't there that day. Carl was telling me about it, but, we had, I think it was 700 to 900 people came to try out as zombies, and they all got numbers and were sort of shambling down the street, doing zombie tryouts. And, it's amazing when you're in town, you'll talk to someone and they're like, oh, my brother was a zombie, or, this person is working on this part of the crew or whatever. And, it's almost become like a second home and a second family to us because Spokane is so welcoming and such a great place for us.
That's awesome. Do you get to spend a lot of time on the set, or do you have to work remotely on the show?
I've been up on the set for about 3 weeks of filming. Carl is up there pretty much full time. Different people are up in different capacities. So we have 2 line producers on the show, and one of them is always up at a given time, and the other one is usually in Los Angeles. So it really depends. I'm a co-EP on the show, and I don't have to be on set all the time like Carl. I was up there for the shooting of the pilot, and then I was up there for when they shot my first episode. Some of the other writers have been up when their episodes are filming. Some of the other producers are doing more or less work. So it just depends on what's needed.
Can you take us through a typical day on set?
Well, a typical day on set is we get into whatever strange location we're at. It's usually something horrible like an abandoned insane asylum that has been rotting in the woods or whatnot. we bring all of our equipment out there. So, one day there was nothing, and the next day there was all this equipment. The sound guy has his sound card, and the camera guys have all their equipment, and, there's a medic that's on set all the time. And we show up there with various amounts of zombie extras depending upon what's needed. We have the gun truck, which is the truck that's loaded with all the gun parts, whatever we need, and anything else. We have the amazing makeup people who literally walk around with many different kinds of blood. They have blood that goes in the zombie's mouth. They have blood that goes in their eyes. They have different types of blood that shows up in different ways when it's being filmed. So you might see, like, a lot of the mouth blood is very dark and black, but some of the other blood is brighter. It depends on how old or young the zombie is. If it was just turned and has a fresh wound, if it has an old wound. So, we go to these weird locations and we show up with zombie extras and our actors and our truck. Our truck is in almost every episode, the big black pickup truck, which, I joke that I want to, at the end of the show, I want to own that truck, and everyone laughs because it breaks down all the time, and they're like, you don't want to own that truck. And the truck gets bloodier as the season goes on. If you watch the front of the truck, it just gets bloodier and bloodier. They're running over more zombies. You don't have time to stop and watch the truck in the apocalypse.
But you do have time to get the zombie out of the wheel well.
Yeah, well, some things are a necessity,
That was amazing.
Yeah, I was there when they were filming the zombie, and that was actually a real person who jammed herself up into the wheel well, and then we kind of hung fake guts off of her. But, I didn't think they would have used a real person, and I got there, and yep, sure enough, there was a real person shoved up in the wheel well. We, put our zombie extras, we put them in that lake. They were in a frozen lake for 8 hours, and they didn't care.
Oh.
We chained them to benches together and for 8 hours, and they don't care. I apologize to them from time to time when I'm up there, and I'm like, oh, I'm sorry that we have to put you in this frozen lake for 8 hours while we film this scene. And they're like, don't apologize. This is the most fun I've ever had. One guy actually said to me, am I not supposed to be enjoying it as much as I am? They are amazing.
They sound like it.
Yeah, it sounds like it's a
great.
really good group up there and a good group dynamic. When it comes to the zombies, I kind of, what is the brainstorming session like for what kind of zombies you want to throw at them?
Well, we do a couple of things, right? We actually kind of have a zombie life cycle sketched out. Excuse me. So we actually have this life cycle where if you are a human and then you're turned into a zombie, if you're turned right away, you're very fresh, you're very active, you're strong. You're a very dangerous running zombie. And as time goes on, you deteriorate and you become a shambling zombie. Some zombies are crawling zombies. Some zombies are partial zombies. They don't have legs or something going on. And then we also try to think of how did these zombies die? When you see a zombie, early on, one of the things I noticed was that the makeup department was doing a lot of head wounds. And I was like, well, if you have a sufficient enough head wound, you'll kill a zombie. So we changed a little bit and started adding rebar through the stomach or something like that. But beyond that, we also try to come up with really interesting places to put our zombies in. I can't really talk about that, but in an upcoming episode, you'll find Doc literally comes face to face with the zombie in a very unique situation. And, we try to find interesting ways. If you take 1 billion zombies and have them wandering all over the planet with almost no intelligence to speak of, they're going to get in crazy situations. Some of them will be humorous, and some of them will be awful, and some of them will be dangerous.
Shenanigans ensue.
It's like a box full of kittens in a house. There'll be the ones that lie on the rug in the sun, and there'll be the ones that got into the flour container, and you're not sure how that happened.
Yeah, and they'll be stuck behind a wall. And you'll be, what is that, a cat behind the wall? So, we do that with our zombies too.
Well,
That's
sounds
wonderful.
excellent. We're running a little bit short on time. Do you guys have any more questions that you'd like to tell?
Were there any really interesting or really hilarious on-set stories? Like you set up something to go a certain way, and then because of one reason or another, everything just went a little crazy?
Well, everything is perpetually going crazy on our set.
True.
Filled with, we shoot a lot of action, you'll see, and then action is the hardest thing to shoot, so we're always moving very quickly. What I would say is actually the improv stuff, it turns out to be some of the greatest moments. There's In an episode I wrote, originally we had the character, they had no weapons and they were grabbing whatever was close, and I was just thinking, what would I grab as a weapon? And I thought, they grabbed like the base of a lamp. And then we got on set, and Carl noticed that they had this really big, it wasn't like it might have been a Bible even, but it was a big, heavy book, like with a big, tough leather binding. And he was like, well, what if, or maybe it was John Hyam, the director, who noticed that. And they said, well, what if they picked up this book? And I was like, yeah, that's awesome. And now we have this scene of one of the characters, who I won't say who, but he's basically, killing zombies with his book, because it's all he can get his hand on. And that really, that adds this level of like scary, reality to the show, where like, that's what you would pick up if you were in that room with that zombie. It's like, quick, there's a zombie in the room, pick up the first thing that you think is a weapon. Okay, great. You're fighting with the fork, and you're fighting with a pair of binoculars, and you're fighting with the phone book. It's like, and that actually, that becomes really fun, and that's just spur of the moment stuff.
That's amazing.
Anything can be a weapon if you're holding it right.
And if you're desperate.
I know. You'd be surprised. And, how desperate would you be? I mean, one of the things that I talked about early on in the writer's room is, if there really were zombies, they would be scary as hell. Think about the guy who, maybe he's a strong guy in real life. He just turned into a zombie. He only wants to do one thing, which is kill you. He doesn't care. He doesn't feel any pain. He doesn't get tired. And you can only kill him by basically damaging his brain, which is one of the most heavily fortified parts of the human body. You can hit someone in the head with a baseball bat, and it won't bother them. I mean, if you look at police reports and stuff, you'll be like, a guy was shot in the head with a .22 caliber bullet and didn't even notice. Didn't notice he was shot in the head. And like it didn't go into his brain. It kind of stuck in his skull, and then he shows up at the emergency room and says, I have a headache. And they're like, well, you've been shot in the head. The guy goes, oh, really? I didn't notice. So, if you think about that, like the way people are in real life, and then say, okay, what if a zombie was real? Like, it would be terrifying to be trapped in a room with a zombie and not have a weapon that could easily kill them. So I know I went off on a tangent there, but I felt that was important ground to cover.
Yeah, no, it's scary when all you have is the book to throw at them.
Literally throwing the book
right?
at them. Oh, wow.
Well, that's exciting. We're really looking forward to this series. Before we let you go, is there where online can people go to find out more about you and to find out more about Z Nation and about the work that you do?
If you want to find out more about Z Nation, go to SyFy.com. That's SyFy.com/Z Nation. And SyFy has a great website for it. I have a Tumblr blog, which is at CraigEngler.com, and I'm also primarily active on Twitter at Craig Engler. So you can find me on Twitter, and if you ask me questions about the show, I will happily answer them, and I retweet people when they say funny comments about the show. So you can catch me on Twitter.
All right.
Well, thank you, Craig, so much for calling in today. We really appreciate you having coming on to the show and talking to us.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it, guys.
All right. Thank you so much. We'll hopefully see you again soon. Oh, that was great.
That was fantastic.
I am so looking forward to having, somebody throw the book at zombies.
Book zombies.
Oh, that's so awesome.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, but okay, so we're running a little bit short on time, so we've got a lot to get through in this episode. Before we get to the episode recap, I want to talk to you guys really quick about iTunes. Folks, we really appreciate here at AfterBuzz all the support you do going to iTunes and rating and leaving comments to support us here on the show. Please go, since Z Nation is just starting the after show, please go to iTunes, rate, leave a comment. It makes us more searchable, and we appreciate any feedback you guys can give us so that we can make this the after show that you want to see.
And 5 stars are pretty cool too.
That's
So throw that out
true
there.
too. Yeah. I'm not complaining about 5-star ratings like at all.
Show us we love you. Show us you love us as much as we love you. Because AfterBuzz commenters are the best YouTube commenters and the best iTunes commenters. You know it to be true.
Yes. So thank you guys so much for your continued support. We look forward to reading more of your comments because we love hearing what you guys have to say. Okay, so we've got a lot to cover in this episode. Not a lot of time to do it, but basically, we've got a lot of fracking zombies to deal with, guys. Because this episode opened up with poor Citizen Z, because he has his little vantage point of all these different places, being the NSA. And he's watching all these terrible things going down at Mount Wilson at where our heroes are supposed to get to. And he loses contact with them, and he's completely unable to get a hold of anybody there, and it was being overrun by zombies, so he has no way of knowing if anybody survived.
And it may have wiped the research as well. They couldn't get out because there was an electrified fence, so everything's on the same circuit. He needed to overload it, but in doing that, it would screw up the hard drive that the information was on, and he never got confirmation from the scientist there whether or not she had a backup. So the scientist may or may not have survived. He doesn't know, we don't know. And the information may or may not have survived. Again, he doesn't know, we don't know. So it's a terrible situation to open up on.
Did it scare you guys at all that she mentioned that there are level 4 zombies in the building?
What's the scale? What does it go to? Does this thing go to 11?
Fly? Like, what does that mean?
I would imagine that they're fresh and clever.
Maybe. I'm a little concerned when we get to that point and how far it goes.
I mean, the zombies knocked in the first
exactly.
episode.
So is they like level 2 there or 3? I don't know.
I would have put that at 4 or higher because fresh and clever. They got in somehow.
Yeah, it's kind of like categories with kaiju in Pacific Rim. It's like what danger and size level and intelligence and everything
kaiju
like
are
that.
just by size. Who knows what the parameters for this classification system are? I want the full document.
You know what? The scientists should have been able to handle the level 4 zombies. Just going to throw it out there. If she knew that there's more levels, she should know that she can handle those level 4.
Well, there's knowing they exist, and then there's actual combat training. Like, we know that tigers exist, but if you wind up in a pit with a tiger, you're hosed.
The flip side of that is
Tony the tiger, then you're fine. It's great.
The flip side of that is that tigers are not overrunning the planet and actively trying to kill all of humanity. Tigers just kind of do their own thing.
That we know of.
That's true.
There could be a tiger uprising in the works.
Putting it this way, rabid dog.
There we go.
You know dogs, you understand dogs, but if you're face to face with a rabid dog, you're going to have trouble unless you have training or a shotgun.
Or cardio.
Old Yeller time.
Or
cardio.
Cardio. Rule number 1, and I think we're going to keep falling back on that rule number 1 from Zombieland.
Cardio.
Because cardio is going to save you.
And double tap.
That too. Always double tap. But basically, poor Citizen Z, when we see him cut off, because he's not only cut off from communication with Mount Wilson now, he's cut off from communication with our heroes, and because their radio died, and he has no way of contacting them. They have no way of contacting him, and now he's lost connection at Mount Wilson. So we slowly start to see his mind unravel in a pretty well-edited sequence where he's just talking to himself and laughing and spinning in his chair.
So
Well, I think he was broadcasting that as well on any signal you can, hi-fi, lo-fi, some things that people don't even know about, smoke signals, whatever you can do. I have a satellite, I'll see it.
Well, we know he's a fan of movies, so maybe he was just trying to replicate The Shining just a little bit.
All work and no play makes Citizen Z a dull boy.
The Shining. Oh, that's not a good thing to want to be.
There's lots of snow, maybe.
Just saying.
Speaking of which, dog sled.
Yeah, he sees somebody on his infrared, and it looks like a guy with a couple dogs on a dog sled, and he's like, people. And he's just so elated to see people, and he's just so excited. He's like, they're gonna be hungry. They're, I've gotta clean up the place, and then
clean the bathroom.
And then it's a complete flip. He comes kind of back to his senses, and he's like, oh, people. This could be dangerous because who even knows that he's here at this point? Because yes, he's been broadcasting out, I'm here for you. But who would come a knocking all the way out here in the middle of nowhere?
Did you think that his thought process was it was bandits kind of people, or it was a zombie kind of person?
Zombie. And I misinterpreted the, people thing, especially looking at the silhouettes on the thing. I'm like, that is a dog sled being pulled by zombies. I honestly thought that was what it was until we actually got there and there was a frozen zombie and dead dogs.
Level 5 zombies.
Like, there are zombies pulling this dog sled. And I was very happy to be wrong.
I was going to say, when you said that, I was like,
creepy.
That makes no sense, Katie. It was really funny.
We're going to have zombie bears in this show. How do I know what's going to happen?
Yeah, we don't know what level 5 zombies are. It's
Bears.
crazy. But he basically pulls out a gun.
And Every bear joke ever.
He basically pulls out a gun so that he's ready for whatever happens. And meanwhile, back our crew, they're having a little bit of car trouble because they're running down zombies with their truck, actively hitting the zombies as they go down.
Well, that we're talking about.
Yeah, and unfortunately, as they're kind of on their way out, they run out of gas. Which I'm really excited that you're happy that you're hitting all these zombies. But come on, keep an eye on the gas gauge.
That's what my question was. Like, hello, do we not look at the gas gauge before we start driving? That's what I do when I get in my car now and there's no zombies chasing after me, you know?
I mean, granted, it could be that the gas gauge doesn't work. I mean, these cars, you work with what you got. So it's possible that the gas gauge doesn't work and you don't know until you physically run out of gas. So that's possible.
Or that was the last thing on their minds.
That's true. But basically, they pull
Don't
over.
give them excuses.
Don't make excuses for them.
The apocalypse. How do you know what you'd be thinking? Aside from, zombies! Which, thanks, Murphy, you're a winner.
Which, I don't know if you guys have taken any of those online quizzes, but I think the longest I lasted was like a year in the zombie apocalypse. So
That's impressive.
yeah,
Good job.
most of them is like 6 months at like tops, but I'm gonna go with the year because that was the longest.
You still wouldn't make it to the show.
No.
I don't think I would either.
I was honestly really proud that I made it to a year because I legitimately thought I'd be one of the people that died during the apocalypse.
Good job answering those questions.
Those online questions that are in no way relevant to what you would actually do.
If you're ever in doubt, just choose C, right? That's the way to do it.
Of course.
Anyway.
C is usually trip your friends and run.
Right.
I have a friend who will do that in the zombie apocalypse to me.
Cardio.
I'm not
Number
looking
one.
forward to that. But anyway, so they pull over and as
You're
they're
looking
having...
forward to the zombie apocalypse at all?
I said I'm not looking forward to that. Come on, everybody looks forward to it a little bit.
No.
Anyway,
no.
so they pull over, and as they pull over, and we get that great, wheel well zombie. But they also, kind of more important to the plot, is that a couple bikers go by, and Cassandra, or Sunshine as she's called in this episode, is kind of doing her best to not make eye contact with these guys. She's like,
She straight up turns her back.
Yeah.
I thought it was because the way she was dressed. She's like, don't look at me. Like, what are you wearing? Like, everyone else is all warmed up, and she's just got that midriff. Anyway, sorry.
Well, no, they made a point of that last episode. They're like, why on earth are you dressed like that? And she's like, I don't have to justify myself, pretty much. But it is kind of an interesting question because, everybody else is, in kind of comfortable, we're going to fight zombie garb. Not very many people are showing off their midriff. Anyway, so, as they kind of go, one of those bikers actually comes back, and they come across him, and he's like, look, I was not rolling with the proper crowd, but if you guys pick me up, I can tell you where you can gas up, because that's obviously an issue for you guys right now. And so they pick him up, and they're following him for his directions. And I love kind of like the dialogue.
Jersey Devil Refinery.
Yeah.
That's not helpful.
Not great.
That doesn't bode well. That's what I'm looking for.
What? It sounds like awesomeness. I don't know.
It sounds kind of cool.
Jersey Devil. First of all, you don't want to be in New Jersey to begin with.
Well, as our characters are saying goodbye to New York, it's a very touching moment, and we actually do get some great character interactions before they head on over to the refinery. But because we find out about Addie, wanting to film and document everything, and we get the reason. Actually, that came later on, but I was thinking we get the reason for 10K's name, but I think that actually when we were at the refinery, we didn't get that. But anyway.
Go ahead. You're good.
Yeah.
You got it.
Anyway, so they say goodbye to New York and they head on over to this refinery. And I love the conversation that goes on between Cassandra and Murphy, because she's like, are we just going to pick up every single hitchhiker we come across? Because she's clearly not happy about this decision. And that's when we get Murphy to chime in going, we picked up you, didn't we?
Are we taking on hitchhikers now?
And it's just so interesting that, somebody who obviously was picked up and saved is so against doing that for other people. And we kind of find out why, is that they have a connection. And so when they actually get to the refinery, we see that there are, first of all, it's overrun with zombies, and I love the line, like, that's not a that's not a gas station, that's a zombie factory, or something like
And when
that.
we saw that in the preview, I was like, are they making zombies? Are they making the zombies work? Because they all seem to be going in neat little lines up a staircase. I have a habit of misinterpreting dialogue in this show. It leads to some really great moments, let me tell you. The zombies are pulling the dogs.
They're really not. No.
I'm
They're
glad
not
they're
making
not.
zombies at this factory, Katie. It's just a factory overrun with zombies.
I'm a fun person to watch this with because I screw it up.
Just
so
pay
much.
attention.
I was paying attention. This was in the preview. We didn't have context in the preview. We had a snappy one-liner and a lot of questions.
Yeah, I love the one-liner too because it was very much just like, that's not a moon. That's a space station.
Moon.
But anyway, so we get and when we get to the refinery, we see that it's overrun with zombies, but they come up with a plan to kind of distract and lead the zombies away so that they have time to fill up this gas truck that they found.
Because they're all drawn to a loud noise, and it's supposedly the noise that a pump is making. It's this rhythmic thunking noise.
And so what happens in the wake of this is that all of our characters kind of get separated. They split up.
Gang.
Yeah, that's always worrisome when that happens. But as we split up, we have Doc, 10K, and Murphy kind of doing their own thing to kind of protect Murphy, to keep him away from the trouble. We have Mac and Addie who are going up to stop the pump from making noise with whatever they can find. We have Cassandra and Travis who have gone off to create this distraction because she has this nifty little music box contraption, which kind of weird that you would have that, but I guess if you're in the zombie apocalypse and it's been some time, and that's something that you've used previously, I guess that makes sense.
I felt bad for her because she had to take the new guy with her. Who does that?
She
You
was
should make the
obviously
new guy
not
hang
happy
back.
with that.
And she's like, why do I have to be with a new guy?
We're not going to leave the new guy with the reluctant savior of humankind.
Yeah.
He
right?
doesn't know. Make him sit back and wait. And
Yes, but
protect.
everyone
Shows
else
self-worth.
knows, and why take the chance?
Why not?
Plus, the reluctant savior of humankind is kind of a jerk.
He is a huge D-bag, seriously.
I sacrificed myself. Honey, no.
Yeah, and how funny was that to hear him, like, tell, the version of the story that he's telling? You're like, I volunteered, and, it's a tough job, and obviously it was risky, but someone has to do it for the good of humanity.
And
what
Doc
about
going,
his-
they'd have to knock me out and strap me down in order to do that to me.
But what about his line about being wrongfully accused?
I don't
Do you
believe
think
him.
that was legit?
I think that's...
Because that sounded
Yeah.
real honest. That the way he delivered that line felt more real than how he was delivering all the other
I
ones.
think he definitely thinks of himself as a victim. I think he was responsible for whatever, whatever mess he got himself into. I think he was 100% responsible. But I still think that because he seems like this kind of selfish guy, that he feels like the victim in this scenario. And I mean, the only other person that knows your backstory is now dead. Hammond's
Yeah.
gone. So this is kind of, yes, everybody, you're kind of stuck with these people who are going to get you to California, but he doesn't have to tell them anything that he doesn't want to tell them, so he can give his version of the truth. It's a clean slate.
That's fair.
And I do love Doc telling him that the apocalypse is like rehab. You take it one day at a time. And that's a little insight to his character, and I found that really interesting.
Yeah, it's just this small little comment, but I think it says a lot about him as a person and about his background, because obviously
Amateur pharmacologist.
yeah, I'm not really a doctor. Everything like that. And we get a little bit of 10K too. The reason he refers to himself as 10,000 is because it's his goal to take out 10,000 zombies.
And he's at like 1,058 right now.
Yeah, and at one point he's like taking out zombies and counting them off, kind of like Lord of the Rings with Gimli and Legolas, keeping
That only
count.
counts as one.
And everything like that. And obviously we don't know what happened to him at the school, but we know that something obviously happened to him to kind of, I guess, forge him into this zombie killing machine. And he's only comfortable being Jeff, possibly again. It might not be his original name, but it will allow him to be Jeff, whoever he wants Jeff to be, only when he's reached his goal of 10,000. And it's like, well, where did that come about? Like, is what prompted all of this?
I want to know more, but I don't think we're going to get more for a little while.
Not for a bit, but oh, go ahead. Did you have something?
Oh, no, it was more of a prediction, but I'm going to save it for the prediction.
Okay.
The predictions
Cool. And so we have Mac and Addie too, and I love their character interactions because they're trying to jam up the pump, and he looks over at her and he wants her to use the bat that she got in the previous episode. She's like, no. I love this thing. You figure it out. I've got it. And I really like seeing them go back and forth because, again, they clearly work well together, and they've clearly been kind of teammates for a good while.
For a second, I forgot that they were dating. I was like, are they brother and sister? And then she made that one comment to him. I'm like, no. No.
Not brother and sister.
Definitely not.
Nope.
Yeah.
There are no Lannisters here.
Yeah.
Nope. But his kind of shovel, his makeshift thing that he used to jam up the thing, it ended up not working, and it ended
Wouldn't
up cutting him in
handle
the
against
face.
that much pressure.
And so she ended up having to use the bat. But that's kind of... It's kind of bad, too, because before they run back down, they see what's happening to the zombies who make their way up there. They drop into this oil vat, and the thing is just overrun with zombies covered in flammable oil. It's just kind of hilarious.
I kind of thought they should just let it be. I know they were trying to stop the sound, but let the zombies keep falling in.
Well, I think they had
Why
to
not?
draw the zombies away so they could actually fill the tank.
I know, I
Yeah.
get that, but I'm just
Yeah.
saying they should have, like, not broken it.
It-
Let it go back.
yeah.
Which it eventually did.
Because it ended up coming back to bite them in a way. Zombie bites. Anyway.
Oh,
Oh, no, that was terrible. That was terrible. I'm sorry, guys. I apologize. But anyway,
Never
so
apologize for a pun. Never.
I would boo myself if anybody else had made that pun. I would have booed. Thank you. That is what I deserved. Anyway.
Disagree.
Anyway, but the
She
other.
may have bitten off more than you can chew, but
Boo!
I regret nothing.
Anyway, so we also have Cassandra and Travis, and it's a combination of her trying to ditch him and him trying to get her to ditch the rest of the group.
You have to come back, Sunshine. You can't leave like that, Sunshine. The family misses you, Sunshine. You
Which-
need to come back.
What the heck is he talking about? This crazy psycho.
I think we're going to find out next episode.
and his line of, they don't know what you are.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I will. What happens when I tell them what you are? Like, what the heck does that mean? Because, like, we obviously have somebody like Murphy who has been experimented on and everything like that. And that makes me wonder about Cassandra as well. Was she the result of maybe some other sort of military experiment that we know nothing about?
Because we're still learning about who Murphy is, like, or what he is with the experiment inside of him, because we see that he has dreams. He has little random dreams of zombies.
Yeah.
So.
And his
And a
teeth are falling
massive
out.
fear
That
of them, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's a fear that I can understand, but
Oh, yeah.
kind of needs to get over it.
You're in the zombie
pretty
apocalypse.
debilitating.
Yeah, he's clearly
Figure
got
it
a lot
out.
of post-traumatic stress from this scenario.
Right.
But we know nothing about Cassandra. I don't even think that they've referred to her by name just
don't
yet. The
think so.
only reason we know her name is Cassandra is because that's what's on the website.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, that's... not having that knowledge, all we would have to go on is Sunshine, which she hates that name. She's like, don't you dare call me that.
Sunshine. Sorry.
So lots of questions about her and about her relationship to this guy and about what him and his group's motives are.
Go
Because
unanswered because she kills him
yeah, no, he tries to tase her and
to bring her back.
and she's like, I'm used to it, and kicks him over the edge of the refinery, and he drops to his death.
And then the zombies eat him.
Yeah,
So
and
that's great.
she drops the music box thing, and so again, this just raises so many questions. It's like she was used to being tased. Who does that? Like, who gets tased so often that you get tased and it doesn't even faze you?
I don't want to go to their family Christmases. I don't know what they're going to do. I don't want to go.
The family sounds like a horrible group of people to be with. They just sound terrible. So we got lots of questions about her and about her background, obviously. But when kind of cut back to the refinery, they jam up the pump. And eventually that breaks down, and it kind of backfires on them because the zombies end up coming out of, the oil well where they were being stored, so to speak, and they start walking around. And as a result, they obviously have to take out the zombies, I think at a cost of like a good portion of the gas that they were using, right?
Well, the other thing that's going on is Murphy is freaking out because he's in the truck with Doc and zombies start coming around and he's just losing his noise. So they're attracted to said noise and Doc's like, calm down, they can't get you in here. Okay, fine, I'll get out and kill him. It's fine. And Murphy locks the doors after Doc gets out.
Way to be a pal.
Helpful, thank
Hey,
you, great.
we know zombies can knock. Why not lock the door and save
But
yourself
these
and then
are
unlock
shamblers.
Still.
So they've been around for a bit, and they're probably no longer smart enough to open the door.
Murphy, I don't hold that against you. I would have locked the door too.
Yeah,
okay?
And then
to
he
be
starts
fair.
the car and starts driving blind because there are zombies on the windshield and winds up crashing the car into one of the poles of the refinery, starting off a spark and blowing up the gas tanker that they were trying to fill.
Okay, that was a
So
little
now
bit of
we
his
have
problem. Yeah.
Now we have oil-covered, flammable zombies coming towards them. It's like, great. Well, now that we're no longer worried about setting off a spark, let's just shoot them. Because
Exactly.
that was why they weren't using guns in the first place.
Because it was
everything
dangerous.
was flammable.
Yeah, although that's still dangerous if you ask me. Not
It is,
anyway.
but at this point, it's just like, ugh.
Let's just get out of here. And luckily for Addie, her bat came flying back down. She's like, I'm so happy I missed this thing. I thought I was never going to see it again. But they end up having to do that. And with Travis now dead, that's no longer a problem. And they kind of make their getaway.
And 10K shows up with these two big
Gas canisters.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I found these.
It's like, you are a godsend.
You're so cute. Can I hug you?
You were the best. And then, as they're driving away, he's like, excuse me, ma'am. Sorry to bother you. You have a finger in your hair.
Cassandra's got a zombie finger in her hair. She's just like throws it over the side.
And it's
She's
moments like
glorious.
that I'm really looking forward to in the show. I really appreciate the humor that they throw in there when they throw it in there. And then we kind of wrap up the refinery story. Some of the bikers come back and they find Travis as a zombie now, and they kill him and take it out. And so we're just kind of left with more questions.
And they find the music box.
Exactly. And so they know that Cassandra obviously is gone, and they're probably going to be hunting them down now to get her back. Why and for what purpose, we still don't know. Just to kind of wrap it up, poor Citizen Z on the other end of the globe is kind of dealing with his own issue because he, one of the sled, obviously the guy who was driving it is dead, and he's not a zombie, or if he was a zombie, he was frozen.
A zombie, but he was frozen solid. So he shoots him anyway, finds out that one of the dogs is alive,
Yes.
brings the living dog in, and is followed in by a zombie dog.
Yes, and we get this kind of great, kind of cat and mouse scene of him trying to get the zombie dog and protect the living dog, which is also now running around and everything like that. And he manages to take out the zombie dog, and he now has this companion. And it's great because he was clearly so alone and not doing well alone. And that was before they took off from the refinery. He was able to get back in contact with our group and be like,
calling the payphone next to them. So they're looking
Saying,
at it like, what?
you gotta get to California. And they're like, well, you need to be more specific than that. And he's like, California. And they're like, well,
go west till you hit the ocean.
and that's kind of troubling because yes, that's giving them a goal and something for them to strive for, but for all we know, Mount Wilson is in ruins, and that there's nothing really for them to go towards, so they might be making this entire trip for nothing.
Well,
What else are they gonna do?
And
Their base is destroyed, so where
It's
else?
the zombie land thing again. You gotta have somewhere to go. You gotta have something to do.
Exactly. So basically that's where we leave this episode, is them making their way back to California, and we've got these bikers on their trail. Citizen Z is obviously, his sanity is something we're still concerned about, but he has a friend, he has a companion, so that's great. So let's move it really quick into predictions if we can.
Your AfterBuzz TV.
Roya, ooh,
There we
Now,
Yeah.
your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
go. Laser light show.
Roya, you mentioned you had a really good prediction.
I wrote it down so I wouldn't forget. I believe 10K and Sunshine are going to be an item, and they're going to save each other.
Did you write little hearts next to that prediction?
No, I should have, but I didn't. And then I think we're going to learn more about Sunshine, and I believe her background is that she's like a sex slave for that family. family. Yeah, which is why she doesn't like that nickname Sunshine, which I probably should stop calling her Sunshine, but it just sounds so much easier.
Cassandra.
To be fair, yeah, they haven't officially introduced her name, so there you go.
Close enough. I'm in kind of an interesting situation with this because I can't say anything. So for the moment, please skip me while I put words in order.
Okay. Well, we get a preview for the next episode, and it looks like some of these bad guys, I don't know if it's the same biker guys, but some of them take Addie hostage. And it just kind of from the look of it, it looks like they're trying to do some sort of hostage exchange. It's like, look, we've got one of your people, give us back our person, and we'll let her go. And so I don't know what necessarily that has in store for us with all that, but it makes me think that this particular plot line with her, at least some portion of her backstory, is going to be revealed. And I just hope that this isn't like a Woodbury group or like the hunters from Walking Dead, because those people are terrible.
Well, there's always going to be pockets of awful people in the zombie apocalypse. That's just how it breaks down.
Exactly. But anyway, do you have your words?
No. Bears. No.
Bears. Zombie bears.
Zombie bears. Maybe not next episode,
Bears.
but they're coming.
They're coming, and Amish zombies and all sorts of other things.
Zomish.
Gosh.
Zomish.
But anyway, so we do have a lot of interesting stuff coming up, and I think, honestly, character backstory is what I'm looking forward to the most.
Yes.
Because I want to know who these people are and why they are the way they are. So that'll be exciting.
I think we'll get Cassandra's. I'd love to have 10Ks.
Yes, exactly. Well, anyway, that basically wraps it up for this week's episode. Roya Taheri, where can the people find you if they want to find out more?
You guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at HeyRoya. That's HeyRoya.
Katie.
You can find me on Twitter and Tumblr at Kiaxet. That's Kiaxet. I'm also on the Attack on Titan and Sword Art Online panels on Sundays, the classic Doctor Who and upcoming Arrow panels on Wednesdays, and the Ruby panel every other Thursdays. We do have an episode this week.
Nice. And you can follow Zach at ThatZachWilson on Twitter. I'm sorry he couldn't be here today, but we look forward to having him again next time. And you can follow me on Twitter at TheMenguin. That's TheMenguin. And I'm also on a bunch of shows here at AfterBuzz. I'm not going to list them all up. No time.
Hey, Megan, happy birthday.
Happy birthday! Thank you. Yes, it's my birthday. Thank you guys. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in today. We really appreciate you guys. We'll see you guys next week.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.